Is veganism a cult?
This is a world premiere. This is a world.
So today we're going to look at the question of whether veganism is a cult. I've heard more than once veganism being referred to as a cult, or at least the way veganism is followed or expressed here on YouTube. So today I want to ask the question, is veganism a cult? And if so, is it a good thing or a bad thing? So the main definition of veganism states that it is a system of veneration or devotion directed toward a particular figure or object. Now, looking at a cult that way, we could say that any religion could be considered a cult. In fact, many religions have been considered cults, like Mormonism. Often, the members of a dominant religion will categorize a smaller religion as a cult. It's basically the dominant religion trying to undermine the competitors. What I normally see happening is people who aren't vegan accusing people who are vegan as belonging to a cult, or vegans who think that the actions of another vegan may be considered too extreme as possibly creating the impression for others that veganism is a cult. And I think in this context, people are thinking of a cult as a bad thing. So another definition of a cult is a relatively small group of people having religious beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister. It might also be defined as a misplaced or excessive admiration of a particular person or thing. Ultimately, these definitions are pretty unsatisfying because you could think of any religion as people having a misplaced or excessive belief in a thing. When John F. Kennedy was running for president, people accused him of belonging to a cult because he was Catholic. Here's another definition of a cult that I found on Quora that I will include in the description box below. And it says, a cult is a religious organization or an organization which demands religion-like devotion that systematically preys on its own adherents, usually through manipulation. So let's look at this point by point. Is veganism an organization? Even in looking at veganism on YouTube, I wouldn't necessarily say that we're very organized. The next question is, does veganism demand religious-like devotion? Some might say that it demands that its adherents at least are devoted to not consuming animals, but is that necessarily religious-like? But in terms of devotion, is the adherence that is demanded to be a vegan any more than the adherence that's demanded from people who are carnist, or from a sports fan, or from someone who's the fan of any celebrity? Does veganism prey on its members? Veganism is a pathway not only to health, but to having a healthier planet and a pathway towards a cruelty-free lifestyle. I wouldn't necessarily say that veganism is preying on its members. On the other hand, when you think about the fact that eating animal products is not good for the individual, it's not good for the planet, and it's certainly not good for the animals, I would say that there's a lot more prey-like behavior in the consumption of animal products than abstaining from the consumption of animal products. Does veganism manipulate its adherents? Does it manipulate the members of the vegan community into being vegan? If anything, carnism requires more manipulation because for people to be able to conscientiously consume animal products, they have to have a lot of the truth of that system hidden from them, which is why you don't see a lot of commercials that include footage from slaughterhouses. On the other hand, veganism tends to want to reveal the truth about the animal commodities industry. So on that count, I would say veganism isn't very cult-like. I found this very interesting list of the tactics that are often used when trying to get someone to join a cult. And so I'm going to read them off, and we can say how many of these we see showing up in the vegan community or showing up when we're trying to get people to become vegan. So the first step is to start with a platitude, inoculate innocuous service or pedantic interpretation divergent from an existing religion. Well, since veganism really isn't divergent from any religion and really only actually divergent from the practice of eating animals, I wouldn't necessarily that's a tactic that's deployed regularly in people trying to get others to convert to veganism. Establish trust by being some of the friendliest and down-to-earth people you've ever met. I don't think vegans have a reputation for being the friendliest and most down-to-earth people. Proselytize heavily and start to diverge a bit from what's normal, but use the love bombing of the community to get people to make peace with their minor objections to the point that they want them to be true. I don't know, maybe that's something that vegans do, but I don't know how effective it is, especially since the first thing out of their mouths is you have to stop doing something that you really enjoy and start doing something that you enjoy doing a lot less. Make the work of your organization take up more and more time from each individual, but make the work feel like it is very meaningful and effective. As time commitments scale up, make financial commitments scale up as well. Publicly celebrate people who make major personal sacrifices like selling their house or quitting their job to dedicate to the group. I don't know how much vegans require of the members of the vegan community, except that they just refrain from consuming animal products. And if anything, it's going to require less and less of that person's time. If anything, carnism is the thing that's going to require more and more of the person's time, as the consumption of all those animal products and animal proteins is going to start to have an effect on the person's health. And they might end up having to spend more time at the doctor's and have less time to do the things that they love just because they won't be capable of doing them. Let your leader never speak highly of himself. A key portion of the message is that the organization itself is the only true hope. Well, I don't know. That might be true about veganism, but I don't know. I don't necessarily agree that veganism is the only true hope. What do you think? Is veganism the only true hope? Are you culty vegans out there? Introducing absurdities like aliens, magic, talking to the dead, trans-dimensional travel, communicating with spiritual beings. I don't know, maybe the brutality of the animal commodities industry might be considered something. I don't know. Now, as people become more and more loyal, you abuse them. Now, this is the place where I believe veganism is as far from being a cult as anything else. My thinking is as people become more and more adapted to a vegan lifestyle, they can make better eating choices. They're not as prone to eat things that are unhealthy because it reminds them of when they were eating animals, and it actually ends up being less and less abusive on the person and more healthy and healing. I don't know. Here's again where I think that consuming animal products is the thing that ends up being more abusive to the individual who belongs to that group. I don't know. So I don't know. Tell me, what do you think? Is veganism a cult? Does it matter? That's it for this video. Like it if you like it. Share, comment, subscribe. This is Reg signing off. Love yourself. Peace.
And I love myself. The world is a ghetto with big guns and